What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about first words and how to automate your streams so that you can shout people out when they walk in and also just greet them with random lines. So let's go ahead and dive in. It's very simple. So what you're going to do is obviously you want to start up the program and boot it up. Ignore all this mess that we got here. We're going to be working with a fresh new setup. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your Actions tab here. In the Actions tab, you're going to want to right click. You're going to see the Add option. What we're going to do is we're going to start it off by creating a first words action. And we're going to put it in a group called first words. And we're going to leave the queue alone, but we're going to come right back to that. So we're going to press OK. I'm going to show you guys how to create a queue. So now you should have a first words group with the first words action here. It is not currently in a queue, but we're going to go ahead and show you how to create a queue. It's very easy. So what you're going to do is you're going to go over to action queues. It should be at the top. Mine's a little bit different, but it should still be up there somewhere. When you go to actions queues, you're going to see pending actions and so on and so forth. We're going to go to queues. In here, we're going to create a new one and we're going to add, right click and add. And we're going to name this one first words. And you're going to want to make sure you check off blocking. And the reason being that is it's going to create a queue and it's not going to execute multiple actions at once. It's going to sequence them and put them in order. So press OK. And now you should have something created called first words. Now we're going to go back to the actions tab and we're going to double click on the first words action that we created. And we're going to put the queue as first words. And then you can press OK. Now, if you want to dive into it, you can kind of set this up with other actions if you have other sound alerts created on your stream that you don't want to overlap. And you just want to keep those cues in the same things so that you don't have things overlapping and, 10,000 different sounds playing at once. I mean, as you can see, we have 150 something sounds here on this channel. So we have everything under sounds. But for this demonstration purposes, we're just doing it in a first words queue. Now, once we have this created and we have our queue set up, we're going to go over to triggers. We're going to set up a first words trigger. So what you're going to do is you're going to right click and you're going to go down to Twitch, go to general, and you're going to click first words. There's not a whole lot you got to do with this one. You're going to want to leave this blank and you'll see why later on. So just go ahead and press OK. And now that you have a first words trigger set up, we're going to show you how you can control that. Basically what a first words trigger does is whenever somebody speaks for the first time in a set interval of time, it will trigger this here. And what I mean by that is you go over to your platforms, go to settings, and in here you'll see first words auto reset cache. What this is basically doing is it's creating a window of time when it resets those first words instances. You go live for like 12 hours. If you have your auto cache reset to 8 hours, at that 9th hour, people will be able to get their first words trigger back in one session. So you want to keep that in mind when you have extended streams. You want to keep this a pretty long time. I keep mine around 8 to 12 hours because I never really go over 12 hours, and that's generally on weekend streams. But as well as being able to reset it manually is pretty nice. But you want to keep this in mind when if you're doing those marathon streams. And if you have questions about it, feel free to hit me up on Discord. We can break it down further. Now, once you have your trigger set up and your interval set, you're going to want to go ahead and start building your sub actions, or what your action is behind the scenes. So first you want to start off by creating a way of fetching the data or information about your user. So you're going to right click here, you're going to go to Twitch, you're going to go to user, and you're going to get user info for target. Now make sure when you get this prompt, you're going to switch it from broadcaster or whatever it by default goes to user, because you don't want to take the information from the streamer, which is the broadcaster. You want to take it from the person that is triggering this action or this sub action. And you're going to press OK. Now that this is here, it's pulling a bunch of information like their user ID, their social security, their credit card information. I'm kidding. It's not all that information, but it does take stuff like, if they're a subscriber, if they're moderators or VIPs. And you can use those as variables later on, and you'll see how it's applied here in the first words auto shoutout system. So now that you have your information about the target, you need to figure out how to kind of classify them as who you want them to be. So with this setup that we're going to be doing is there'll be a blacklist or ignored users. There's going to be a specialty users. You're going to have mods, VIPs, and then just general users. So we're going to break it down pretty far, and you'll see how it all works out. It's a lot easier demonstrated than it is said. You know what I mean? So what we're going to do is first, we're going to create a group of ignored users, people that don't get greeted or shouted out or anything. It's going to completely just null and void and stop at this point. So before we jump into this, we're going to go ahead and create that group. So in order to create groups, you're going to go to settings, and then you're going to find the groups tab. In the groups tab, I already have some stuff created. Ignore that stuff. We're going to create a new one. And in here, we're going to name this group ignored users. Now, keep in mind your punctuation, your capitalization, your spacing, all that stuff, because that's going to be very important when you're communicating this variable here. So I'm going to press add. If you want, you can categorize it as bots. That's how I have my personal one set up. But for this one, we're just going to keep it as just a normal group. So we have ignored users now. Whenever you select it, you're going to see that it's blue, highlighted, or whatever your color scheme is. But when it's highlighted, you'll be able to start adding users. You can either do them by batches or you can do them individually. I'm going to show you individually just to show you it's a lot more effective this way than doing it as in batches, because this will actually search and look them up. So you'll see what I mean. So when you right click here, you add user to, and it'll be your ignored users or whatever you prefer to name it. If you want to name it something else, so be it. But generally you want to stick to what I write so that you can follow the tutorial more, precisely. So in the search, I'm just going to write DigiVibe, and it should auto-populate with DigiVibe here. If not, it should have something here regarding Twitch or YouTube or whatever platforms you have associated with your Streamer.Bot. We are using Twitch, so I'm going to click on Twitch, and I'm going to select. So now I will not be greeted or shouted out or anything in my own chat. I am going to be the ignored user placebo. So now that we have a ignored users group, it doesn't matter how many you have in there. As long as you have that group created, you can proceed on to the next steps. But make sure you add all the, bots and people that you don't want to get greeted and shouted out at the initial start of their chats. Put all that in there, and once you're done with that, you can go back to your actions, and we're going to create the filter that actually filters out these ignored users. It's very easy. It's using a simple logic. So if you right click in your sub actions, make sure you're still in that first words action, right click in sub actions, and you're going to go to core. You're going to go to logic, and you're going to do if else. If else seems a little scary, but it's pretty simple if you think about it. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take a variable. So remember when we were taking the information from the user here, we were actually finding out what group that person is in as well. So a variable that you want to use is going to be user groups. So user, make sure to capitalize that G in there and add the S as plural. And what this is going to do is going to take this variable and it's going to declare what its value is. And its value that we're looking for is ignored users. So if this variable equals, and we're going to put the value as ignored user, and then we're going to do action nothing. We're going to leave this alone, and then we're going to break. Now what that's going to do is if that person is on that ignored users group, they're going to be ignored, and that's it. It's not going to run any further. And you want to make sure else condition is set to continue, no actions here. And this is going to allow it to proceed if they're not on that list and continue on to our next step. So press OK, and now you have your filter for ignored users. So we're going to go to settings. We're going to add another group, and this one's going to be called special users. And mind you, I'm not putting spaces or anything. It's a capital U just to separate the words, and we're putting an S there. So press add, and that's going to add a new group. So now we have special users and ignored users. So special users, let's just say we want to add our friend Chibi Sars. You would add their account here, press select, and now that they're here. Obviously you can add multiple if you want. I personally prefer to add them single-handedly so that it auto-populates and adds them. Now that we have our special users list loaded, we're going to go back to actions, and we're actually going to create a nested action before we go on any further with first words. So you want to go in the first words category that you have, or this group, and you're going to right click in here and you're going to press add. And And what we're going to do is we're going to name this one Special Users Shoutout. And now that you have this set up, we're not going to put any triggers here because this is actually going to get nested into the first words action. You'll see what I mean by that. So we're not going to do anything with this. We'll come back to it. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a filter for the special users in the sub actions. We're going to complete building the first words, and then we'll branch out and revisit the nested actions as we create them. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually duplicate. So we're going to duplicate this sub action here, and we're going to double click on the second one, and we're going to change ignored users to special users. And you want to do the same thing. You want it to break, because what it's going to do is it's going to run an action. So now you'll see this do action. We're actually going to add something into it this time. So we're going to click in here, and you're going to find that first words action, special user shoutout. So you should be able to just type in special, and it'll auto populate right here. Click that and select it. And now what it's going to do is it's going to run this nested action, and it's going to break. So it's not going to continue going any further. And that's what's pretty much building a filter for the specialty users detection. And then if it's not, it's still going to continue. You want it to still continue and go through all the filtration processing to figure out who this person is. So we're going to press OK. And now we have our special users filter. The next ones that I'm going to create are not necessary, but it's what I prefer to have. And it's so that you guys can kind of take this information and apply it and do whatever you want with it. So we're also going to add a moderator and a VIP filter. We're going to make another nested action here. So we're going to actually right click this, and we're going to duplicate, and we're going to change this to mods. Press OK. And this will automatically apply that first words queue. And now we have a mods nested action. We're going to go back to our first words, and we're going to create a mod filter. And the same thing is going to apply for VIP. So we're going to duplicate this. And you're going to notice that we're not going to use the same variable. So we're going to change the variable to is moderator. We're going to change the value to true. And we're going to change the do action to mods, which is right here. Select that. And then we're also going to allow it to continue, because if it's a VIP, we don't want it to stop. So we press OK. And now you have a mod filter with a mod nested action. We're going to do the same thing for our VIP. So we're going to duplicate mods and change this to VIP. And now we have a VIP nested action. Obviously, these are not going to have anything in them. They're empty. You want to make sure they're empty for now. We're going to come back to them. And we're going to go back to first words, and we're going to duplicate mods. So duplicate. And we're going to change this one to is VIP with only the capital V. IP can be lowercase. We're going to change do action from mods to let you guess VIP, just like that. And then you're going to leave everything the same, because if it's not any of those, you want it to continue. And then press OK. Now you have all of your filters. And what these filters are going to do is they're going to initiate some other action and close out this ongoing action. For those people that are just general users, people that bypass the ignored users, they're not quite special users, they're not mods or VIPs, but there's still somebody coming and hanging out. We want to greet them. So we're going to continue on forward and build out the rest of it. So now that we have the filter in place, we're going to go ahead and start applying what would happen if it's a general user. So I prefer to have like a goofy little sound that we have going on in the channel plays every time somebody that's general user enters the chat. So you're going to right click, and we're going to go to core this time. We're going to go down to sounds, and we're going to play sound. You want to make sure you choose the proper audio device that you want the audio to go through. I personally have it set through the application, so I keep it as application default. Now, you want to go ahead and find the sound. So sound file to play, and click these three dots here, and you would go and find your sound. I already have it saved here, so we're going to call dude mp3, and we're going to open it. And you can use this test button here to test the audio and kind of EQ it and figure out what works for you. We already have it kind of predetermined. It's around the 60s. And then we're going to press OK. Now you'll see that if they pass all these filters and they're just somebody hanging out, it's going to play this sound. Now we also want to greet them with some sort of text. So what I'm going to do is actually create a random text line where you can have a bunch of different greetings, from saying hello, what's up, how you doing, howdy. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a text document that has about 5 different greetings in it. And we're going to use Streamer.Bot to actually pull one of those random greetings and apply it to them. So not one person will get the exact same response. Sometimes it might randomize and, 2 people will get the same line. I already have one pre-made, but I'm going to show you how to get it set up. So you're going to right click here in the sub actions. You're going to go to core. You're going to go to file IO, and you're going to do read random line from file. Click on that, and you're going to notice that there's 2 different lines here. The second one you're not going to worry about because this is basically just establishing a variable, but this first one is important because this is going to be the file that you use. So you're going to go ahead and find a file or create a blank text document on your desktop or wherever you prefer to save it, somewhere that you can easily access it and somewhere that won't get lost. So I'm going to press the 3 dots, and I have text files here. I have a greetings text file right here. So when I click on that, it loads it up. I'll show you exactly what is in the text file so you can see what I mean. So you'll see that every single one of my greetings, they're very basic, nothing too crazy, are on a separate line. So make sure if you want to have a bunch of different greetings, you want to make sure that you press enter and put them on separate lines so that it reads it as a separate line. Otherwise, if you have it all going across one way, it's going to put all of that line onto the message that we're going to be setting up. So once you have all of your greetings set up, you want to make sure you file save it and go back to Streamer.Bot. You're going to notice that it's calling for a variable here, but if you leave it empty, it actually predetermines the variable as a random line. We're going to use that just to be easy, and press OK. Now that you have the random line, you need to actually put this line into a message. And this is the last and final part of like the main action that we're going to be generating here. And then we'll make our way over to the nested actions to show you what I set those up for. So what you're going to do here is you're going to right click and you're going to go down to Twitch. You're going to go to chat and you're going to do send message to channel. If you prefer to announce or something else, you can do that too, but this is what we're going to do. Now, all you have to do is % random line %. So that's the random line that we're pulling from the text document. And then what I have it set up as is % user %. And make sure you have these unchecked if you don't have a bot account set up. Now, if you want to figure out how to set up a bot, you can reach out to me on Discord, or you can possibly find a video in the near future that'll show you how to do that. But I like to put a little emphasis on my statements, so I put this here, and I also take an emote for my chat. So and I paste it right there. Make sure that there's spacing in between the exclamation point and the emote. And now, because it's going to be me, I have access to my own emotes. It's going to put that line in there. So press OK. And now you have this entire setup of just general users. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take it on over to the nested actions and actually apply specialty shoutouts for the people that we want to shout out. So we're going to start with special users shoutout, because that I know is mostly what people are going to be looking for. And then we'll get to the mods and VIPs. So let's go ahead and go over to a special user shoutout. And you want to make sure to leave the triggers blank. Like I said, we're going to be initiating it through the first words action here. And we're going to put a message in here that's going to shout out that special user. So it's very easy. You just right click, go to Twitch, go to chat, send message to channel, and basically create your own message using these variables. And I'll break down the variables for you. Now note that we have percent target user. That's very important. That's going to pull whoever triggered the first words trigger in the first place. And then we're going to say has entered chat. And we're going to add a little extra detail, and we're going to have it tell us what game they were last seen streaming. And that variable is percent game percent. So what you're going to do is you're going to build a self-loading URL. So you're just going to put a generic Twitch URL, and then at the end, you're going to put percent target user again. So it should look something like this. Twitch.tv/percent target user percent. No spaces in between that. And then make sure if you have a bot account and you want it to play through the bot account or be said through the bot account and have it like that, I prefer it being said from me. So we're going to uncheck that and we're going to press OK. Now all of our special users will be automatically shouted out. So now that we have a special user shout out, we're going to go ahead and show you how you can actually go the extra mile for like mods and VIPs. I personally like to have special sounds for my mods and special sounds for my VIPs so that I know who comes into the chat. Obviously, it's upon request, so whenever my mods come up with an idea of a sound that they want, we set it up and then we get used to it, and then I know who's jumping in the chat. Now I'm going to show you guys a specialty filter that I have applied for my mods. You can do this with any of the other categories, VIP or special users as well. I just prefer to do it with mods. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate if I were a mod in the channel. So to create that kind of filter, you're going to do the same thing that we did before. Do you remember how to do it? Right click, go to core, go to logic, if else. And in here, instead of doing is moderator or is VIP or is special user, is ignored user, we're going to do username with a capital N for name equals, and we're going to do digivibe. Make sure when you do this that all the letters are lowercase, because when it pulls the username in that variable, it is all lowercase. It doesn't have the special characters where it's capital letters, where somebody puts like display name. And then what you would do is you would create another action. So we're going to leave this empty. We're going to go create that action. Then we're going to come back and plug and chug. So make sure that these are both set to continue, and you'll see why in a moment. So let's go ahead and do this. And we're going to create a nested sub action for special event for just me. So if I want to trigger a special sound like a crowd cheering when I join in, then how we do that is we're going to right click, we're going to add, we're going to do mod event, and then I'm going to put the username. Doesn't matter if it's capital or not, and then you press OK. Now we have a nested action for a mod event for when I personally enter this chat. So we're just going to go right click in the sub actions, leave triggers alone because nested is being initiated somewhere else. And we're going to go to core sounds, play sound. Make sure you set your audio up and find that sound file that you want. I'm going to use the bruh sound. Bruh. Make sure you EQ it with this fader. You can test it with this button. Press OK. Now, if you go back to mods, if username equals digivibe, you are doing nothing. In order to change that, you double click it, and I'll let you take a guess. You go into do action and you find that action that you just created. Mod event digivibe. Just like that. Boom. Press OK. And now we have a filter that will play my sound, and then it'll continue on to what we're going to create next, which is the shout out for a mod. So I'm going to right click, go to Twitch, go to chat, send message to channel. Now we're going to create our message using the variables that we had before. So we have percent target user, we have percent game, and we also have the URL being built in with that percent target user. All right, So what we have here is, yo, we got a mod in the house at %target_user%. Make sure that U is capitalized. Last seen playing %game% at twitch.tv/%target_user%. Again, capital U. Go down here and make sure that you have your checkboxes checked off that you need. I personally want it to be me saying it in the chat, so we're going to uncheck the send using bot account and press OK. So now what we're looking at here is our mod event is going to be triggered from first words. So let's start from the beginning. We have DigiVibe in the chat, right? Triggers first word. We're going to fetch the information. We're going to take all of his information, social security, credit card information. We're going to go shopping. Not really. But once we get that information, we're going to check his groups and see if he's in the ignored users. He's not, so we're going to continue. We're going to check to see if he's in the special users. He's not, so you continue. We're going to check to see if he's a moderator, and ding, 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 he is a moderator. So we are going to execute the nested mods action. So we're going to go over here and see what's going to happen next. And it's going to say, is this DigiVibe? And it's going to say yes. So it's going to do that DigiVibe sound here. So you come over here and it's going to play the sound. But if you go over here, it still says to continue. It doesn't say to break like this one does. So it's going to continue and it's going to proceed to shout me out. Now this same thing can be applied to VIPs and specialty users. But basically what you would do for VIPs would be the same exact thing that we did with mods. So I'm not going to go through and break that one down just because it's exactly the same, but you can apply this to special users as well. Just make sure to keep in mind when you create these that you have your username variable set up here and you have their username in all lowercase letters. When you do that, make sure you also have that nested event. That nested event is very important. And now with all that being said, you should have a fully functioning first words, shout out, greeting, all that good stuff. And I'm so excited to hopefully see you guys show it off in your streams. So if you got to this point in the video, I really do appreciate it. It means you've watched all the way till the end pretty much. And just want to let you know that down in the description, there's actually an import code, so you don't have to build all this on your own. This is just to help break it down so you understand every little nook and cranny of what I've created. If you have any questions, you can contact me on Discord. The link is down in the description. It's the greatest way to get in touch with me, as well as there's a bunch of other awesome specialized creatives in there that would be more than happy to help you whenever I'm not available. Now, if you found this video helpful, I would appreciate if you subscribe so that you can find more videos like this in the near future. And if you have any questions, feel free to hop in the Discord, come hang out, come chat with me, and come check me out on stream. Currently, my schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which it could be changed. But again, that's all updated in Discord. That is like the central hub that is called Vibe HQ. And hope you have yourself a good one. Peace.